Let me know when we want to start, Dr. Abbott. Dr. Arora, sorry.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So we're already 6 minutes past the scheduled time. The audience have also joined in. So we can begin with the session, or and the audience will keep on joining us. So that's fine.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, but you just need to increase the volume a bit more.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
And is it clear?
Yes, ma'am, your audio voice is clear, but your video you
Oh,
just turned it off.
okay. 1 second.
So ma'am, when the icon is red, that means it's turned off. When it is black, it
Yeah.
means it's on.
Okay. And what about the screen share?
So ma'am, that is the third icon in the below list of icons. Share content is there.
So you have the slides now?
I do have ma'am, yes.
So if you can just put them.
Absolutely. Just give me 1 minute.
Yeah.
So ma'am, can we begin for the day?
Yeah. We can begin from my
Sure.
end. Yes.
So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's ECME. That will be on a very crucial topic of current trends in management of threatened miscarriage and recurrent pregnancy loss, taken by Dr. Asta Gupta. She's done her MBBS and she's a gold medalist from Delhi University, IVF infertility specialist. She's an advanced gynae endoscopic surgeon at Delhi IVF and Fertility Research Center, New Delhi. Without further ado, I'd request ma'am to kindly begin with the session for the day.
Oh, okay. So thank you, Dr. Gautam, for a quick, brief introduction. And I'm happy that Abbott has given me this opportunity to revise my own understanding of RPL and threatened miscarriage. And I'm happy to also take some questions at the end of the session. So let's quickly begin since we've already lost some time. So this topic of recurrent pregnancy loss and threatened miscarriage is something which is, a big dilemma for a lot of gynecologists and doctors because it is something which all of us go through as patients and as doctors, and it's very confusing. It's a full Pandora box. So, to begin with, I want to start that what your brain does not know, your eyes cannot see. So, in a critical topic like this, which psychosocially affects patients so much, especially in a community like India, where people, recurrent pregnancy losses, the women are seen with very different eyes and a lot of stigma is attached to it. I think as doctors, we really need to understand this more deeply, and the more we expand our knowledge of this topic, the better we can help our patients. Okay, so as a brief introduction, if we see what is, miscarriage and how often does it affect pregnancies. So actually, 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. It's common. It's a very, big number if you actually think about it. And we often take it like that, that okay, women going through miscarriages is okay, one or two. But if they are more than that, then we'll try and understand how to approach them. Okay, so we'll understand why they occur and how, as doctors, we can manage them better. So the contents quickly of our talk will be the current trends in the miscarriages, the management of miscarriages, and the current trends in the medication, the progesterones that we give, what kind of progesterones we are going to give, and why one is better than the other. The benefits of oral dydrogesterone, which we will discuss, that how this dydrogesterone is recently introduced and it has an edge over many other forms of progesterone, and furthermore. Okay, so let's go on. So basically, let's try and understand that when is a pregnancy lost. It can be lost any time between fertilization to implantation. Okay, so in 30% cases it occurs, 30% it occurs prior to implantation. In 30% cases, it occurs following implantation, but it is before the pregnancy is actually diagnosed in in the lady, before she actually knows that she's missed her period. And in 10%, they actually happen, they end up in miscarriages after the diagnosis of pregnancy. So once it's a full-fledged pregnancy, they end up in miscarrying them. Okay. Yeah. So there's a classification of miscarriage which we quickly go through because all of us are very well aware of this. Threatened miscarriages when there is a bleeding, but there is no dilatation, and it's usually before 20 weeks of gestation. A septic miscarriage is one which is actually obviously with infection, associated with infection. Inevitable miscarriages is when even the cervix is dilated. So POCs have not been expelled, so it's actually inevitably going to happen. A recurrent miscarriage is one where three or more consecutive pregnancy losses have happened. A missed miscarriage, of course, we know is where there is no heartbeat, and of course the expelling process is not yet happened. Okay, so moving forward, can you just go to the next slide, Dr. Gautam? Yeah. So now we'll understand the causes of recurrent miscarriages. So it's a big dilemma because 50%, 40 to 50% of these miscarriages, they have no reason or there is no etiology, defined etiology behind them. About 10 to 15% of them are anatomic. About 15 to 20% of them are autoimmune and blood clotting disorders. About 0.5 to 0.5% are because of infections, and 15 to 20% because of hormones. We'll discuss various causes, and very less, that's 2 to 5% is genetic. So we'll try and understand at length, how these things affect pregnancy. So like we discussed, it's a huge, percentage of miscarriages are unexplained. So we'll also try and understand that how we will approach such kind of patients when they come to us. Okay, so now the possible, so of course the classification has, many different, there are many different types of classifications for miscarriages. There's another one where we can classify it into maternal factors and fetal factors. So a miscarriage is happening because of a problem with the mother. So it could be age. Now this is a really big factor in today's day and age because of the way society is running, and we have a lot of patients who conceive late. Okay, so this ends up in RPL very often. Hormonal metabolic, again because of stress, lifestyle, and age. The kind of women, they mostly have something or the other associated with it. We'll discuss it further. Infections and lifestyle and environmental factors. Again, the kind of stress, smoking, alcohol, stress related diseases which happen in women very often nowadays is all, it all culminates in miscarriages very often. Fetal factors can be chromosomal. Of course, if a fetus is chromosomally abnormal, it ends up in a miscarriage, and embryonic defects. So we'll discuss this as we go on. Okay, so quickly we've gone through this. So the anatomic causes can be like a congenital malformation, right? In the uterus more commonly, a submucous myoma, cervical incompetence, okay, and severe intrauterine syncytial, which we call Asherman syndrome. Again, a very common cause of practice, especially in our Indian practice because of tuberculosis. It's a very common cause of miscarriages. In the endocrine causes, we have diabetes, thyroid, and PCOD. Again, PCOD is now PCOS because it's like a lifestyle disease in many, many people and many, many women. Thyroid disorder, again, very common in the belt that we live in, in the northern region and the Himalayan belt that we live in, and diabetes, as we all know. So moving forward, just one slide back, please. No, 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 yeah. So genetic causes, like we discussed, is a very small percentage, about 2 to 5%. And there is, of course, no treatment for this. Okay, so genetic counseling to alleviate the stress is a very important thing. In fact, I have a lot of patients, who've had these recurrent miscarriages, and when they go through that counseling, they really understand because the entire tree, the family tree is made, and we actually go through the history of if there was a genetic child, abnormal child in the family, or there were any other factors like autism and everything. So it leads to a lot of stress alleviation in patients. In fact, I want to talk about how, like, PGTA, which is the pre-genetic testing of embryos, was done very often, has been happening, and is happening very often with the IVF procedures for genetically abnormal embryos. And this is something which has been sold to patients, which has been happening for more than 20 years. But it's amazing to see that the recent development in the PGTA is that the pregnancy rate is going down. So we are not really sure that with the IVF, if we do a PGTA or if we don't do the PGTA,